I, 20 female, have been taking care of my elderly grandmother, 74 female, for over 4 years since her heart condition got worse and her knee went out. I'm currently in college and working part-time doing art commissions to save up. For some extra context, my mother, 41 female, was the affair child born while my grandmother was married. She wasn't treated well by her elder 4 siblings, 52 female, 50 male, 46 female, 43 female, and was often blamed for the divorce. My mother is white Asian mixed while her siblings are pure white. Think blonde hair, pale skin, blue eyes. My mother also was a single mother, so me and my now deceased sister were in my grandmother's care while my mother went to college full-time and worked. My sister and I were treated poorly, from being screamed at for spilling a tiny bit of water to being called racial slurs. Our bio-father's family is native. The catch? She never did this to our cousins, ever. Our cousins got away with being jerks to us, breaking our stuff, and disinviting us from big events. When my grandmother needed care, my mother and I moved in. Last night I was going through the filing binder to find a copy of my transcripts, so I can go to a bigger college next year, when I stumbled upon my grandmother's will. It basically said that everything will go to my cousins and their children. My great-grandfather owned a small farm-type property that was in the will, plus almost $1 million worth of assets, and just money saved up. Nothing was going to me, not a cent. Not the property, which I'm the only grandchild that has any experience raising chickens, ducks, and gardening. Nothing. I'm unsure how to explain the emotion, but it was like a huge slap in the face. I was the only one taking care of my grandmother while none of my cousins even lifted a finger to help out. I had to give up doing baseball and give up a very hard-to-get-into program to take care of her. I take her verbal insults and am very patient with her. This morning I confronted her about it, and her excuse was, they have kids, so they need the money. Like, okay, but I'm also going to school, and in the future I'm planning to have kids. Plus, I could help pay off my mother's debts from her medical treatments. I know that I'm not owed anything, but I just feel so unappreciated. And the fact that my cousins, who never helped in any way or never speak to my grandmother, are getting everything. I'm honestly considering sending my grandmother to a nursing home instead of caring for her after this. However, she'd have to use some of the inheritance money to pay for it, as she has no other means to afford it. My mother told me to do whatever I feel is right, and that she'll back me up no matter what. My eldest cousin, Susie, 29 female, and her husband, 31 male, called me selfish, narcissistic, and a slur I'd rather not repeat, for even considering it. She never even bothered to try and help. Your grandmother doesn't consider you family. No reason for you to consider her family. Go live your life. Sounds like you're a staff to your grandmother, not family. She is using you. In this situation, I see no reason to feel bad at stopping care. She doesn't consider you her family, so why do you owe her elder care? Leave. Let the cousins who got treated like family take care of her like family. You don't owe these people anything. My brother has been having serious medical issues. I don't want to get into details, but in the midst of one of his hospitalizations, it was found out my brother is not my dad's son. My dad was devastated and left the house and went radio silent for a lot of days. My mom, 47 female, knew that I was bound to talk to him sometime soon, so she admitted that she had an affair with a boss when she started working for him at age 23 and stopped working for him at 35 when he retired. The man died a few years ago, and my mom said she was sure that I was my father's child. My dad pretty much told everybody in the extended family about what we found out, so things are already starting to become a war with relatives saying their pieces. Their separation got even more bitter when my mom decided to be the one to serve divorce papers on my dad. From what I got out of the two of them, my mom thought my dad was going to punish my brother by denying him funds for medical care, and she said, for him, she needed to be the one to say her piece first. I've tried to reach out to my dad and offer him my emotional support. I noticed he was looking unkempt and looked to not be eating so well. I offered to go stock up his apartment with groceries. I offered my financial support because I was grateful he put me through Vanderbilt, even though we're not rich or upper middle class, and I've gotten a good job in finance and good paying internships because of it. He's been cold about all my overtures and would use our calls to rant about every aspect of his life. He yelled at me through the phone once when I mentioned that my brother said he missed my dad and sends his love. It has been hell, especially because I feel like I have to take sides. My parents' credit is terrible due to medical bills and other expenses. But if I give money to my mom, then I'll be favoring her over my dad. And I'm of course mad at my mom for hurting my dad. My dad called me the other day. It's one of the few times he called me instead of the other way around. He said that he thinks that he has to know, so he was asking me if I would go with him to take a paternity test. He told me that he always thought I didn't look like him, but my brother, out of the two, looked more like him. He's texted about this many times after his call. I have to be honest, I want a good relationship with my dad again, and I know if it turns out I am his daughter, that it would improve. But I'm afraid of the alternative, and I don't know if I want to know. And my dad also admitted he doesn't know if he wants to know sometimes either. But let's just get it over with, even if the results will hurt us. What do I do? I'm afraid we'll both regret a lot of the actions we take in this period. I also feel sad because this is still my dad, and I would be devastated if our bond would be nothing to my dad if he finds out I'm not his biological kid. He deserves the right to know, as do you. You both only know the lies your mother has told you, and this is the key bit, so far. Specifically, she had what reads as a 12-year affair. 12 years, and shows no remorse. But your dad's entire adult life and half his family are a lie. He deserves to know, and so do you. Your mom screwed up everyone's life. Do the test and find out the truth. Your dad needs time to heal and really come to terms with everything. He still raised you kids. He's angry now, but when the hurt subsides, he'll yearn for you. He may be unable to see past the hurt from your mother, but his love for you should succeed. My daughter and her boyfriend had their first kid when they were 17. For the first year of their now 4-year-old daughter's life, I was doing almost all of the caretaking, from changing the diapers to doctor's visits and feedings. I did that with the understanding that they would take a more active role as parents once they finished high school. After high school, my daughter's boyfriend said college wasn't for him and that he would look for a job instead. My daughter, meanwhile, enrolled in the local community college with a scholarship. At first, my daughter's boyfriend was earning enough as a waiter to get an apartment and basic necessities for the both of them. I sent them around $500 a month in case they needed extra. However, the both of them realized they wanted to go clubbing and be young, and they dropped the child off at my house and be gone for up to 24 hours longer than they said they would be gone. 1 year in, and my daughter is doing badly in her courses. She needs to repeat many courses, so that stretches out her education. Finally, last year, she decides to take a leave of absence and to work instead. She tells me every day that she will apply for jobs, and sometimes to motivate her, I'd say to bring her daughter over and I'd watch her while she filled out applications. She'd fill out maybe one application, but then she's on her phone and gets annoyed when I tell her to focus. In January of this year, the restaurant my daughter's boyfriend worked at closed. There were many positions open at nearby grocery stores. I inquired there myself, and the manager was eager to hand out an application. I knew somebody who worked as a package handler for Amazon, and they also referred the both of them to jobs at Amazon and other related ones. However, throughout 2020, I have to end up supporting them. They keep saying they have big plans and that they're going to be this high-achieving family and start their own business one day. However, neither of them seems to be able to even fill out an application. Now they come to me and drop the absolute bombshell that they are expecting again. They said that there was no way they'd consider A because this was planned, and my daughter says she wants to have all her children early so that it doesn't sidetrack her career later on. They go on to ask me for extra money for baby stuff. I tell them they have to start getting a job. My daughter says they will do that, but in the meantime, wasn't I going to support them? And that it would be what they got for their daughter, but now double because of the second child. I'm pretty pissed right now. Right now, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm enabling them, to say the least. But I also don't want to leave two innocent kids out to dry. They don't deserve that. Not to mention the fact that this was still my daughter. I know the job market is hard, but I feel like they aren't even trying. What do I do? Do I get some sort of promise that they won't have another kid until they're completely financially independent? Or do I ask them to move out of their current apartment and move into my house? That would cut housing costs. But my friends are telling me that they needed to pay rent, even if it was $100 a month. I also feel like they already dumped their daughter on me more than is appropriate, And I would go crazy if I had to take care of 2 kids. I am not getting younger and have to work. The boyfriend's parents are pretty antagonistic towards their son, but should I try to hold them accountable? I'm overwhelmed, and to put it into crash terms, I really need my daughter and her boyfriend to at least stop breeding like rabbits. My daughter calls this her family, but I feel like I'm carrying everything on my back. They planned this child with the expectation that you would pay for it. I would be absolutely incensed, not only at their irresponsibility, but also that they made these plans that included my time and money without including me in the decision, not even mentioning the plan to me. If that doesn't showcase how much they are taking advantage of you, I don't know what does. I have to agree with everyone that it's time to cut them off. You need to dish out some tough love. I know you're thinking about the grandbabies, but it's best to do it while they're young. They're doing this because you keep on giving money. It is not your responsibility. I repeat, it is not your responsibility. The fact that the guy's family has already cut ties with them should already be a sign that you need to do the same. Until they realize that there will be no one to dig them out of the hole that they've dug themselves in, they will not do a thing to improve their lives. Well, this is a complicated story. I thought my son, Paul, was mine, but when he was 7, I found out that he was actually an affair baby and that he wasn't mine. I was devastated because I loved him like my own for 7 years. I was only 32 at the time, and the bio-father found out. It was a very emotional process, but my wife and I divorced and she moved in with him. I decided I wanted a clean start in life, and after a court case, I gave up my parental rights to him. I was still in touch with my son after this, and for the first few years, I would meet him almost every day. He then brought up that he wanted to change his last name, and while it hurt me, I agreed. I also met my wife during this time, and I started having my own family. I have a son now, an 8-year-old boy who is my life. When my son was born, I stopped meeting Paul as often because I focused on him. Instead of meeting every day, it became once a week. As my son was growing up, I became more focused on him, and Paul and I began drifting further apart. I just didn't have the same connection with him anymore. Paul told me he was totally fine with this, and we just talked once a month or so. Now Paul is going to university. Both of his parents are not well-to-do, so he called and asked if I could sponsor his education. I felt pretty bad, but I told him we didn't have the same connection we had all those years ago. I wanted to be more like his uncle, whom he could come to help out. My wife has the same opinion. She told me I shouldn't be supporting someone who isn't my child and that we need to set up some clear boundaries. I told Paul I was sorry, but this was something he and his parents should have discussed. He was sad, but took it like a champ. My ex called me screaming, saying how could I not help out my son? It was truly disgusting she even talked to me like that, but there is some truth. I once considered him my son, but that was a long time ago. It's not your responsibility, OP. Paul understands that, but your ex-partner's guilt is eating her out, and she's probably lashing it out on you. Don't let her manipulate you into paying. You have your 8-year-old son to take care of, your wife. And who knows, another one maybe. You can still talk to Paul, but you absolutely no obligation to fund his studies. The problem here actually is not you or Paul, but your ex. She cheated, manipulated you into raising a kid from her affair, destroyed your family, and now she expects you to pay for something they should be doing. They had Paul's entire childhood to save up for his education. That's their responsibility, not yours. Me, 32 female, is married to a wonderful man, 38 male. He has a sister, 35 female, that is very entitled. Let me explain. She, let's call her Lisa, got her teeth fixed and lost weight. I tried being nice and congratulating her on her feats. She immediately stopped talking to us and her other brother. She only talks to the other sister. She thinks she is TikTok famous because she had posted a few vids that had a few thousand likes. She even tried to get brand deals for free, but of course failed. A month ago, she announced that her and her husband are going to see his family in Mexico. This is the first time she spoke to me in like 2 months. There is always a reason for her to talk to me, and it's usually favors. I asked her, how long are you and the boys going to be gone? Her sons are 16, 14, and 12. Oh, they're not going. It's just me and Jose. I knew right off the bat that she was looking for babysitters. Husband and I live in a one-bedroom apartment. We cannot have 3 teenagers here, I immediately said. Oh, come on, you love the boys, Lisa said. How much are you going to pay me? There is a total silence. Too quiet. You're family. I ain't paying y'all. I rolled my eyes and said no. She went on a rant about being family, and family doesn't pay. Husband said that his mom gets their sister and brother to pay for babysitting. She is no different. We want to be paid. She ranted again that she doesn't deserve the same treatment as them. She is special. I asked her how. She said, because I'm beautiful and confident. I get what I want. I laughed so hard. Husband just stared at her. After laughing my lungs out, mother-in-law came in. I'll go to your house and watch them. I gasped and reminded mother-in-law that Lisa is not paying for babysitting. She shrugged her shoulders and said whatever. I hit my mark. My face is red now. I let out something in me that no one's seen. So you are letting this entitled bee have her way? Fine, let her have her way. I stormed off to my room. Mother-in-law or Lisa has not spoken to me since. They've been gone for 2 weeks now. Husband said I went overboard by calling her an entitled bee. Deep down, I think I did go too far, but I just had enough of her thinking everything will go her way. Isn't it hilarious how this type of person thinks they're punishing you by not speaking to you? Oh my God. She wanted you to babysit 2 teens and a tween in a one-bedroom apartment. That is so precious of her. To include not giving you money to feed them or a place for them to sleep? On the floor is my guess. I personally don't think you went too far.